The past 9 months have been incredibly challenging for us as a family. Life, as you know, can change in an instant, and we've had to navigate uncertain waters, finding our way through stormy moments that test our resilience. For Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, what was meant to be a simple, routine charity event quickly transformed into something extraordinary. As one of her many public appearances, this particular event was organized to support children's charities, an issue close to her heart. The day was bright, and laughter filled the air as families and supporters gathered to catch a glimpse of the beloved princess, many eager to see her radiant smile and graceful presence. However, amidst the laughter and the sea of faces, one figure stood out. A young boy, no more than 6 years old, lingered at the edges of the crowd, watching her intently. At first, he seemed like just another child in the throngs of admirers. But there was something different about him. He was silent, serious, and unwavering in his gaze, his eyes fixed on Kate with a mix of longing and uncertainty, as if he was unsure whether he should step closer. Kate, always gracious and attentive, moved from one group to another, offering her characteristic warmth. She shook hands, shared smiles, and engaged the children with a natural kindness that had become her hallmark as a royal. Yet, as the boy followed her from a distance, he remained a quiet figure in her periphery, ever watchful but hesitant to approach. The volunteers noticed him, but none intervened. There was an unspoken understanding among them. The boy wasn't causing any trouble, he was simply there, present in a quiet way, yet radiating an almost magnetic pull that no one could quite ignore. The event continued, and soon it was time for Kate to take the stage. As she delivered her brief speech, the atmosphere shifted ever so subtly. A few people in the crowd began to notice the young boy had moved closer, inching his way forward toward the stage with quiet determination. Eyes darted toward the back, following his progress, as murmurs of curiosity filled the air. By the time Kate finished her speech and began stepping down, the boy had made his way to the very foot of the stage, his small frame nearly lost in the bustle of taller figures around him. It wasn't until she began shaking hands with more guests that she saw him for the first time. Their eyes met, and for a brief moment, time seemed to slow. Her gaze softened as she took in the expression on his face, an expression that held a world of unspoken emotions. In that fleeting glance, there was something more than simple curiosity in his wide, solemn eyes. A wave of empathy and tenderness swept over her, compelling her to pause. She smiled gently, offering him a reassuring look, but the boy did not return the smile. He simply stared, as though waiting for something more profound than a wave or a handshake. The boy's silence stirred something in Kate's heart. She was about to continue moving through the crowd, but instinct held her back. There was something about this child, something in his quiet presence that called to her on a level she couldn't quite explain. It was then that she made the decision to walk toward him, her expression warm and gentle. Kate knelt down to his level, meeting his gaze with a soft smile. The crowd around them grew hushed, sensing that something meaningful was unfolding. "Hello," she said, her voice as gentle as her smile. "What's your name?" The boy didn't answer. His lips parted slightly, but no sound came out. Seeing the hesitation in his eyes, Kate's smile grew even warmer. "It's okay," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything." Slowly, she extended her hand toward him, bridging the distance between them. For a moment, the boy remained still, caught between his curiosity and his uncertainty. But then, in a gesture that seemed to carry the weight of his small world, he reached out and placed his hand in hers. At that moment, the crowd around them seemed to fade away. For Kate, this wasn't just a moment in the public eye, it was a moment of connection, an understanding passed between them without words. She felt the quiet strength in his small hand, sensed the unspoken story he carried, and her heart went out to him in a way that was deeply personal. As they stood together, Kate gently guided him away from the bustle of the event, leading him to a quieter spot at the edge of the crowd. With each step, she could feel his grip on her hand tighten, as if he was afraid she might let go. The boy's silence spoke volumes, revealing a depth of emotion and a longing for comfort that words could never fully convey. Once they were away from the throng of people, Kate knelt down again, looking into his eyes with a soft expression of concern. "Are you all right?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The boy's lip quivered, and for the first time, she saw the full extent of the emotion he was holding back. Without thinking, she reached out and gently pulled him into an embrace. He didn't resist. Instead, he melted into her arms, his small body trembling as he let out silent sobs. Kate held him close, feeling the tremors of his quiet cries as he leaned into her, seeking the warmth and comfort she offered. His small frame shook with the weight of emotions too big for a child his age to bear. She could feel the depth of his sorrow, his grief, his longing, all the feelings he couldn't express with words. As Kate gently stroked his back, she whispered words of comfort, her voice soft and steady. "You're safe now," she murmured, barely audible to anyone else. "I'm here." Her words seemed to reach him in a way nothing else had. His tears, though quiet, told a story of loss and loneliness that only the warmth of her embrace could begin to ease. Slowly, the boy pulled back just enough to look up at her, his eyes red and filled with unshed tears. He didn't speak, but in that moment, he didn't need to. His gaze held a trust, a gratitude that went beyond anything he could say. Kate smiled softly, brushing a tear from his cheek. "You're not alone," she told him, her voice filled with gentle reassurance. "I'm here with you." The boy's hand clutched hers even tighter, as though letting go would mean returning to the isolation he had known before. Kate, sensing his fear, didn't move. She stayed by his side, holding his hand, letting him know he wasn't alone. Minutes passed, and gradually the boy's sobs quieted. His breathing steadied, and he rested his head on Kate's shoulder, his small body finally relaxing as he found a sense of peace in her arms. For the first time in a long time, he seemed to feel safe, surrounded by a warmth he had been missing. The crowd, some with tears in their eyes, watched in awe. What had started as a routine public appearance had transformed into a deeply personal moment of healing. Everyone present knew they were witnessing something special. As the boy rested his head on Kate's shoulder, a sense of stillness enveloped them both. It was as though the world had paused, allowing them this moment of connection. For Kate, this wasn't just an act of public duty, it was an instinct, the compassion of a mother who understood the power of a simple embrace. A few steps away, one of the charity's volunteers approached quietly, her eyes filled with emotion. She knew the boy's story, had seen his struggles firsthand. "He's been through so much," she whispered softly to Kate. "He's lost both of his parents, and has barely spoken since." Kate nodded, her expression tender but firm. "I can see that," she replied, gently stroking the boy's hair. "But today, I think he's found a little bit of peace." Still holding the boy close, she looked down at him and whispered, "You are so brave." Her words hung in the air, filled with warmth and sincerity. The boy stirred slightly, lifting his head to look up at her, his tear-streaked face a mixture of exhaustion and gratitude. He didn't speak, but his eyes conveyed everything she needed to know. For the first time in a long time, he felt seen, felt loved, even if just for this fleeting moment. Kate's heart swelled with emotion as she gently wiped away his last tears. "You'll be all right," she promised, her voice soft but strong. The boy nodded, his small hand still gripping hers as if to say he believed her. In that simple gesture, he seemed to be telling her everything he couldn't put into words. As they slowly released their grip, the world seemed to return to its normal pace. The connection between them remained, an unspoken bond that would stay with him for the rest of his life, a reminder that, even in the darkest of times, there is light to be found. As Kate stood up to leave, she gave him one last smile. The crowd, who had watched the entire scene in reverent silence, couldn't help but feel moved. They had witnessed not just a royal engagement, but a powerful moment of healing and hope.